Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 681 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our ninth book just came out. It's called From Letters to Leaders, The Legacy of Service. So I want you to go and pick up that book on Amazon today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, every once in a while, we have a guest that wants to come on the show more than once because they have some new information that they want to share with our college student leaders. And I told Dr. Alan Lycka he is welcome on the show anytime he likes. He could be on the show 5 days a week. That would be totally fine by me. And our students would love it because he has such incredible information to share that's really valuable to
And today we're going to give some valuable food for the mind for your students, something that'll help them in their daily lives. And they will just, for you, Michael, it'll help them and it'll help your bodies. And they will just be amazed at what I've put together this time around.
I am so excited. I know our listeners are too. Let me give you a little bit of background on Dr. Alan Lycka. He's acknowledged as one of the leading cosmetic dermatologists globally for 3 decades. In 2003, Dr. Lycka was misdiagnosed with ALS, which for our listeners who don't know what that is, it's Lou Gehrig's disease. My grandfather actually passed away from ALS. And after additional research by Dr. Lycka, he discovered that he actually had chronic Lyme disease. So he was treated and he practiced for another 16 years as a cosmetic dermatologist. He finally retired in 2019 in order to help other people overcome adversity just like he did. Because of what he learned, he co-authored the best-selling book. It's called The Secrets to Living a Fantastic Life. And he co-authored 2 more bestsellers in 2020. The second edition of The Secrets to Living a Fantastic Life launched in 2023. So make sure you go and pick up that second edition of the book. It's absolutely incredible. Welcome to the show again, Dr. Lycka.
Michael, it's such a pleasure to be here with you.
Hey.
And it's always a pleasure, but I'm going to bring up my screen here so the students will know exactly what I want to talk about.
That sounds good. I loved reading through your FAST system for student leaders, and it actually perfectly explains, I think, this quicksand phenomenon where students are working harder and longer, but they feel like they're barely moving, and that effort actually yields diminishing returns. So
It
explain to our
is.
college student audience why so many leaders feel like they're in survival mode instead of influence mode.
Well, there is the illusion of the perfect student
Mhm.
that society equates carrying an impossible load with success. When you struggle, you are told you simply need to better time management. Now we know that that's malarkey. That just doesn't happen. You know, everybody out there wants a 4.0 GPA and an honors thesis. They want to be president of 3 organizations minimally. They want to secure that summer internship. They want to maintain a social life somehow, and somehow they want to get 8 hours of sleep. Isn't that what it's supposed to be like, Michael?
It's unrealistic to say the least.
It is. Okay, so that's where we get to the quicksand approach. Everybody starts working harder and pushing longer, yet feeling like they're barely moving forward. The reality is the system requires immense power and constant effort, but yields diminishing results. Now, burnout is not caused by complexity of your coursework. It is caused by misalignment. So on one side, we have energy, and on the other side, we have load. And everybody has these two competing powers. Now, when responsibility accumulates faster than your ability to recover, the system breaks. That is the misalignment gap. So let's talk about leadership energy. That's your mental clarity, your focus, your sharp decision making, your cognitive bandwidth. Then there's your purpose, the why behind your major or leadership role. There's your physical vitality, the 8 hours of sleep, the nutrition, the time you give your nervous system for recovery. And then there's that passion. You know, Michael, when I wanted to get into medicine and dermatology, I would have crawled over a glass on my bleeding knees to get there. And that's the passion that motivates most students, right?
Absolutely right. Now, I see all of this, and I do. What's interesting about college student leaders, you're right, they're involved in 50 different organizations, and they almost wear that as a badge of honor that they are exhausted all of the time. They're overwhelmed all of the time, and they feel like this is just a part of being a leader in college. Do you think it's really a part of leadership to feel that way, exhausted and overwhelmed all the time? Or do you think that something is a little bit deeper is going on here?
No, there's a solution for all this, and it's first to realize where you're at.
Mhm.
First, you have to define what load is about. You have to talk about those decisions you make, choosing that major, choosing those post-grad plans. When you're working with a club, working with those budgets. You got to work with those expectations, the family pressure, the peer competition, and maintaining a perfect resume. Your responsibilities, those 20 credit hours, the group project deadlines, those part-time jobs. And there's the constant low-grade anxiety of the modern academic market. That's the weight every student carries on their back. Now, we know something that is behind this, Michael, and it's the perfect energy equation. Energy, when balanced with load, gives high performance. And the key is to strike that balance. So leadership difficulty is rarely caused by a lack of intelligence or skills. It's because external load outpaces your internal energy. Does that make sense, Michael?
It makes sense, but I think that it's almost necessary to have this leadership load that you're talking about. I mean, that those pressures that we're talking about that they're carrying, I just don't see them going away. Is there a way that we can reduce some of the
Yes, yes,
unnecessary
yes,
leadership
yes.
load?
Let's look at the energy quadrant. When you plot leadership load against leadership energy, you get 4 quadrants. And every student operates in one of these 4 energy loaded states. Identifying your current coordinate is the first step to reclaiming your balance. Would you like to know a little bit more about that, Michael?
Yeah, tell me more.
So, the lower height right quadrant is what you're describing, the burned out overachiever. He's running on empty. He has high load and low energy. You're taking maximum credits, functioning on caffeine and anxiety, and reacting to daily fires. Decisions feel heavy. The reality is you are highly capable, but you are carrying more weight than your system was designed to support. You are surviving, not studying. You're not thriving. You're not doing it properly.
This is like every college student right now is the burned out
Well, it's
student.
some of them. There's some of them. Some are in this quadrant, the
Mhm.
group project carry. They're carrying too much. They have high load and high energy,
Mhm.
not high load and low energy.
Right.
You're the safety net. You do every presentation yourself because no one else can do it.
Mhm.
You are highly productive, but you are the bottleneck in your life. By absorbing all the pressure meant for others around you, your success has become completely unsustainable. Let's
Mhm. All right.
explore another quadrant.
What about on the energy side?
Well, we're going to go to that just a minute. So here's the energy side here.
Mhm.
On the lower quadrant, we have leadership drift. These students haven't failed, but their spark is gone. They're just drifting along. They're getting the bare minimum done to graduate. You see those in your class, Michael. You see those in your fraternities.
Sure.
They just are just getting by.
Yeah.
They're letting everybody else do anything.
Yeah.
You're
This is
not overwhelmed by the pressure, but you're underwhelmed by purpose.
this is the ghosting senior, I would call it, instead of coasting, the ghosting, the guy who basically we never see.
Exactly. Then you have somebody that is the epitome. They're leading from the summit. They have aligned their load and energy. You protect your time. You delegate club responsibilities.
Mhm.
So you're not doing it all. You focus strictly on what aligns with your future career.
Mhm.
You think clearly and empower others around you. You do not try to carry every decision personally. You shape the system around you so it supports you, so it doesn't crush you.
I love it. And, of course, the goal is to be the aligned navigator. But, in order to get there, that means we have to learn the skill of delegation. And I think this is really critical because no one person can build a multi-million dollar company. We depend on a lot of people in order to get there. So, how do we create a culture where these leadership responsibilities are shared instead of centralized in one person who's completely burned out?
Do you remember an old show on TV called The Paper Chase about students in law school at an Ivy League university?
I don't think I saw that one.
Oh, it was on for several seasons. And
Mhm.
the interesting thing is these students were overwhelmed by the course material that they were getting.
Mhm.
I mean, law school is tough. You got to
Sure.
do this course and that course and this course. So what they got together in groups of four and delegated one student to take this course material, another student to take this course material, another student to take this course material, and another to take this course material. And then they reported back to the group. So they didn't have to go through all those hours of classes. So they could work on one thing and make it happen. And of course, they all aced their material.
Brilliant. Yeah, I
So
think you're absolutely right.
here's the we've got the overachiever, low energy, high load, attends 5 clubs, exhausted, panic studying at 3 a.m., anxious survival. We've got the group carry, high energy, high load, president of 3, micromanages, uses everything color coded, but doing peers work too. They are in the resilience trap. We have the coasting senior or the ghosting senior, as you said, dropped out of most, skimming right before class, and they're apathetic. They don't care anymore.
Right.
And then we have that navigator with high energy aligned load. They leave one thing well, that's themselves. They know what's important and they empower others around them. They do deep work, they do focused blocks, and they have strategic clarity.
Mhm. I like how you said empowered other people around them as the navigator. I think that's so critical because a lot of times what I see is for the person who wants to take on everything and do everything themselves because they're scared that somebody else is going to mess it up. The problem with that strategy is that number one, you're going to be burned out. But number two, you're not training the next generation. If we want our organization to sustain themselves after we have graduated, then it is upon us as leaders to empower them, to teach them, to motivate them, to then be able to take our space and our place in the organization when we move on.
And you know that yourself from the groups that you lead, from the wonderful groups that you are a spokesman for, the Phi Data Kappas and the Phi Data Betas and all those groups, because they know that one person cannot lead the whole group. They have to share the responsibility and they have to teach the next generation to do that as well.
Bingo. Absolutely. You got to empower the next generation. That's what this whole thing is about. None of us are going to be on this world forever, right? I mean, this is is undefeated. So ultimately, we have to empower the next generation, especially when we have an ongoing mission, whether that be the United States of America, and that's why we have leadership transition in the United States of America, or leadership transition in your organization, because at some point you're going to move on and you don't want to put in all of this work just to realize that, hey, I graduated or left the organization and then the thing completely fell apart. That's not why we do the work.
So you cannot outwork a misaligned system.
Right.
Adding more effort to a broken equation only accelerates exhaustion. You must actively redesign that system, that engine. So the fast reset is this. Number one, identify core priorities that actually create impact. Student action. Audit your commitments. Does this club, double major, or internship actually serve your future career? Are you just padding your Met resume out of fear? The result, eliminate distraction to read attention to your true mission.
Yep. That's really, really important that we do that assessment on a regular basis. A lot of people are drifting and we might forget about what that true mission is.
Until second, align your energy with purpose. Reconnect with the deeper reason for your efforts. Purpose is the ultimate fuel source. When you know your why, you figure out the how. Simple as that. Revisit that why. Why did you choose this major? Is it really something you want to do? Or it was something your parents wanted you to do? I tell you, at least 30 or 40% of students in school are doing something they don't want to do and only figure it out at the end.
Yep, so true. I mean, my dad wanted me to be an accounting major, and he was right in that there would always be work to do and my bank account would be full. All of that is correct, but I hated doing it. I mean, the debits and credits were completely boring to me, and I had to leave and do something a little bit more creative. So I think you're absolutely right. I think we have to look at is this really serving me? And is this the fit for what I want? Or is this somebody else's expectations being placed upon me?
So you need to shift external expectations to pursue your inner alignment. Then you have to simplify the load, identify responsibilities that can be delegated, streamlined, or entirely removed. And I'll tell you one everybody can streamline, and that's their cell phone and social media. How many hours a day does the average student scroll on social media?
The average is 6 hours a day.
Yeah. So when people tell me they don't have the time to do anything, I say 6 hours a day on social media. No wonder you don't have the time.
Right. 100%. But I mean, they're just brainwashed into thinking it's this FOMO, this fear of missing out they have this fear that somehow they're missing out on something that's going on. And the only way that they can stay on top of it is by essentially scrolling for 6 hours a day. But it's just too much. And it's not really part of the mission or your purpose.
Yeah. So stop doing everything yourself. Empower your student organization committee. Drop the second major you hate. Transition from carrying every decision personally to building systems that work for you. And the fast strategic step is create momentum through immediate action. What is one specific commitment you can cancel or delegate or say no to today?
Yeah.
One thing.
Mhm.
That's not hard, Michael. I think everybody on this call can do one thing.
Totally agree with that. And for those overworked leaders, let's say you are the chapter president of your fraternity or sorority. I know when I was chapter president as an undergraduate, there were certain meetings that I had to be a part of every single week. And I felt like I needed to be everywhere. And I'm telling you, I was running from one meeting to the next meeting, thinking that I'm staying on top of everything. But the reality is, I was probably doing an average job at best because I was overcommitting in terms of these meetings. So I want you to look at your schedule and think about a few of these meetings, one meeting a week that you can either cancel or delegate or say no to. And a lot of the hopefully will fall on delegation that you can put other leaders in your organization to start going on your behalf to those meetings to take notes and report back. And so not only are you starting to free up your schedule, but also you're empowering the next generation. You're making introductions, and that person is going to be more valuable and have more skills as a result of that delegation.
Well, I've also found meetings are run improperly
Yeah.
quite often, Michael. If
Mhm.
you don't have at least a blueprint for the meeting, if you
Yeah.
don't have an abstract for the meeting, if you don't have what you're going to talk about in the meeting, that meeting is going to be a complete waste. There always should be, what you're going to talk about and what you want as an outcome on every sheet that goes on before you even attend that meeting.
Right.
And if you don't have that, there's no meeting.
I totally agree. So many college students today are going into meetings with no agenda, and that agenda should be circulated at least a couple of days prior to the meeting. So that way, the people who are attending can actually formulate their ideas about what it is that they are going to talk about at the meeting and actually contribute in a meaningful way. And when we talk about empowering other people or delegating certain responsibilities, you can actually, in your agenda, have the name of the person. Say, Alan is going to speak from 8:01 p.m. until 8:06 p.m. about the topic of being a senior and what he got out of the fraternity. And for 5 minutes, he's going to talk about that to our organization. And so now we're empowering him. We're giving him a job to do. So when he gets that agenda 2 days prior to the meeting, he's saying to himself, I better show up to this meeting and I better be prepared because Mike is counting on me and I see that I have a certain responsibility. So I can't just forego the meeting and not show up as a senior because I've just been given a job to do. And so now he feels like he's a part of the meeting. He contributed and it mattered. His presence mattered. For those seniors who are ghosting you and who are not showing up to your chapter meetings, you haven't given them a job or a responsibility.
Yeah. And I've always found most meetings should be done standing up rather than sitting down
Oh, yeah.
because that makes you do what you have to do in the minimal amount of time.
Right.
And I think many people forget the priority is to get something done in that meeting, not just meet for meeting's sake. It's not to 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 fraternize and procrastinate and delegate to another committee the decision that needs to be made today. I found meetings often an excuse for not doing anything.
So true. So true. I know you developed this diagnostic tool that I thought was really interesting. It's called the Fast Leadership Energy Index. So,
Yes, and I'm going to give everybody the opportunity to go to that right away because
yes.
it's a 2-minute test. So
Mhm.
you could figure out exactly where you're at in those four things, and you'll get a blueprint for you and exactly what you need to do with your life. So if you are one of those people running on energies, running on low energy, this will tell you what to do. If you're drifting, it'll tell you what to do. If you're caring too much, what you'll do. And even if you're leading from the summit, it'll tell you what to do to safeguard you to stay at the summit. Because the most common thing is when you're at the summit, you drift downward into caring too much. You drift downward into low energy. Drift downward into just drifting. So when you're at the summit, you need to stay there because if you don't, you have to guard that even more preciously than all the other quadrants.
All right. So where should they go in order to check themselves on this index?
Can I just go through this for 1 minute?
Yeah, go for it.
This is the secret for having ultimate energy, Michael.
Mhm.
This is the secret. You have a mental state, a physical state, and a spiritual state. That's the center of all this. That's where everybody gets infinite power. That's where you get more power than you need to achieve any situation. If you balance your mental, your physical, and spiritual, you do it very well. Now, mental, you know how difficult it is to stay aligned with mental. Everybody has false statements going on. We don't see the world as it is. We see the world as we think it is. So we're always saying, I can't do this. I can't. If you master the mental, you'll do well. Physical, if you do 15 minutes of exercise every day, I guarantee you'll have enough energy and enough drive to do anything. Just 15 minutes rather than scrolling for 15 minutes. Spiritual, that means a lot of things. I'm not talking about religious, I'm talking about spiritual, balancing all the things in your life that are spiritual. Now, what else? Personal power, financial, career, altruism. If you want to do something really powerful today, give something to somebody who doesn't have anything.
Yep.
Instead of 3 coffees a day, give one of those coffees that somebody who doesn't have it. Community, develop that community. Have that community support you and have your family support you. So this is where they can reclaim your summit, Michael.
Beautiful.
Scan this and you'll be taken to the Fast Leadership Energy Index. And you'll find out exactly where you are in those quadrants and you'll get that blueprint to help rid your life. Now, if somehow this doesn't work, Michael, if you could put in the show notes my email, baslcjsm@gmail.com, and write me.
No,
BAS.
you have an invitation from Dr. Alan Lycka. He's giving you his email address. So,
Well, and also, Michael, if they would like to have an hour of my precious time to get clarity, I only can do this for 3 people a week. But if 3 people would like absolute clarity in what they need today, Michael, I'll give this to your guests because I love you so much.
oh, that's very kind of you. All right, there you go. The invitation has been made. Dr. Alan Lycka is going to take 3 students a week. That's the max that he can manage. But 3 students if you want that clarity. And I would highly suggest anybody listening to take him up on that challenge and meet with him so he can get you the clarity that you need. You can go ahead and scan this QR code on the screen right now in order to check yourself on this index, the Fast Leadership Energy Index. And if you have questions, you want to meet with Dr. Lycka personally, he's allowing 3 students listening right now to do that. All you need to do is email him. I'll put his email address in the show notes so that way you can email him and get on his list for the week. Amazing.
Diagnose your drift, redesign your load, lead from the summit. That's what I want you to do. I want you to really have the fantastic life that Michael and I have. I really want you to enjoy that university experience to the most and your future life to the most, because the two go together, Michael. You never stop learning. You completed your master's recently.
My
You know,
doctorate, yeah.
yeah, your doctorate. Look how that studentship keeps on going. And
Oh,
it doesn't end there.
no, it doesn't end there. Now I just keep writing more journal articles and doing more research with the skills that I received in the doctorate program, because now I have new skills. And that opened up a whole new chapter in my life that I can go and research things that I've been wondering forever. Why is it that this is the case? Now I can research it and actually find out with those skills that I didn't have prior to the doctorate program. So it really has opened up a whole new chapter in my life, and I'm grateful for it.
Michael, thank you so much for having me on your show. This has been indeed a pleasure, and I really enjoyed sharing this new material with your listeners.
Absolutely. You're welcome anytime. And to our listeners, if you learned something from Dr. Alan Lycka today, I want you to share this episode with your entire chapter. Put a link in a group chat for your entire fraternity or sorority. Share it on social media. You never know who needs to hear Dr. Alan Lycka's message today. Thanks so much for joining us. We thank you, Alan. Thank you so much to our listeners. Thank you. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Bye for now.